Hello everyone! A wonder of nature just made a move. They dumped XRP straight into their treasury, and their chairman is out there publicly declaring that XRP is literally 10 times the play Bitcoin is right now. I mean, can you imagine what this does to the boardrooms of other companies eyeing the treasury space? Game changer. Now, I've got some juicy intel straight from Ripple Swell. Sal Galberti's been spilling a few beans about what he actually saw going down, and there's someone out there piecing together a puzzle that's starting to look pretty interesting. Over at X-Finance Bull, they caught Brad Garlinghouse sitting down with Patrick Witt, and there's this moment where something gets mentioned that could signal brand new territory for the US government. So naturally the question becomes, are Ripple and XRP wrapped up in whatever's coming? Yeah, we're gonna unpack that, and believe me, I'm stacked with XRP updates for you. Before we jump in though, I need you to hear this clip. Pay close attention. You're about to find out what the single biggest distraction is in this whole transition to the new financial landscape. And we are not talking about XRP. Listen to this.
Bitcoin is the greatest distraction from the greatest disruption that is coming to financial services.
Here's what they're doing. Funneling everyone into Bitcoin. Meanwhile, the real workhorses, the ones that'll actually be processing the world's money at industrial scale, they're hoping you ignore those completely. XRP gets buried. Ethereum gets sidelined. Then you've got names like Stellar and Ondo that they pray you'll never research. Their whole strategy is keeping your focus locked on this massive glittering rock that frankly just sits there being expensive. Storage? Sure. Utility beyond that? Crickets. Anyway, enough from me. Here's the chairman himself, James Lee, in that clip. Take a listen.
So then XRP, the third largest, cryptocurrency. So I see in terms of the comparative value, there are more value to XRP. So there's a higher potential for XRP to go up in value. For example, XRP right now, the market cap is only $180 billion, whereas Bitcoin is almost $2 trillion already. So there's at least 10 times potential for XRP to reach the level of Bitcoin. I think that given what the US government is doing, a lot of financial is doing, so institution is doing, so I think there's a strong possibility XRP could catch up with Bitcoin over the next few years.
Not it. The US government's messaging here is bizarre. They keep saying Bitcoin is their one and only priority, but Chairman Lee is talking like he's got information nobody else has access to. What if there's actual blockchain infrastructure being constructed quietly in the background? And here's where it gets interesting. This won't be Bitcoin based. Ethereum's off the table too, considering it's headquartered in Switzerland, right? They're hunting for American partners. So who's been walking through the White House doors? Brad Garlinghouse. 4 separate visits this year alone. Consensus representatives making that same trip. Haven't seen it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Moving on. Ray Fuentes got Sal Galberti on camera. He's about to share some observations from his time at Ripple Swell. Rolling the clip now. Listen to this.
What's going on, family and friends? We're here at the Ripple Swell 2025 conference, and I've got Sal Galberti, the CEO of Tcrium, the double X XRP ETF, a leverage XRP ETF, if I'm correct, Sal. How are you doing today?
Doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for joining me today, because this is a wonderful opportunity to brush elbows. We actually brushed elbows last night at
your party. It was great.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you for letting me in.
Well, now you're returning the favor with this interview. How has your experience been at day one, Ripple Swell, sir?
It's fantastic. It's a good event. You can learn a lot of people here who are making decisions and making things happen in the industry.
And was there any key takeaways or notables, information that left an impression on you as we were concluding day one?
Definitely. I think the two things that jumped off the page at me are, one, I believe I heard the Canary CEO say that their Ripple physical ETF, their token ETF, 33 Act ETF, will come out on November 13th. I think I heard him say that. And that was on stage, so it's not a secret. And I did hear Citibank predict that within 5 years, tokenized assets would be in the trillions of dollars. Those two things jumped out at me.
Interesting. You know, that November 13th due date, let's just say, is really sticks out to me, because I believe that's either it's going to be the second trading day after the third quarter earnings announcement by Circle, which is when the institutional traders can begin trading the Circle public equities. But I believe the lockup period, which was 180 days, is to end December 2nd, which is actually my birthday. But anyways, thank you, sir. Thank you. You're welcome to join the party. But there's a lot to unpack. That's also even when we saw in one of the last bull runs, when Bitcoin ran to, was at their all-time high back in 2020, Coinbase had IPO'd. And so there's a lot of synergies that we see in the public versus the privates, or what we see in the market versus traditional TradFi versus this DeFi landscape. What are your thoughts?
A lot of synergies, a lot of coincidences, but there really aren't any coincidences. I think the last half of November is a very big time for XRP. I do. Ripple and XRP.
We're staring down the second half of November right now, and honestly, it's coming up fast. And here's the thing. Every single one of these ETFs is sitting there on the DTCC website. This isn't speculation anymore, this is real. The 8-A forms? Check. The S1 filings? Done. Here's the reality. The only possible way this doesn't happen is if the SEC literally marches in and pulls the plug themselves. So let's talk dates real quick. November 13th to the 20th. That's our window where things could get really interesting. But here's why I'm bringing this up again. I think there's something else going on beneath the surface here. Some messaging that's easy to miss. I want to play something for you and see if you catch what I'm catching. We're going to go through what X Finance Bull dropped. I'll show you the clip, and let's figure this out side by side. So here's what it says. Why are people still hating on XRP when the White House rep just said tens of trillions are heading to the crypto market that solves real-world deficiencies at Ripple Swell 2025? Patrick Witt, U.S. White House official, didn't dodge the question. He said plainly, you'll be looking at market caps in the tens of trillions tied to platforms that integrate into real finance and unlock global efficiency. Now, read that again and ask yourself what protocol is already doing that. Ripple is building towards relevance. It's already acquiring the legacy systems and plugging it directly to the XRP ledger. Here's what they've already taken over. G-Treasury, real-time treasury infrastructure. So the G-Treasury is hooked up with 1,000 massive corporations right now. They've built this interface that lets these companies tap into all their assets and liquidity. Now picture this. They integrate the XRP ledger. Boom. Their whole operation could scale like crazy. And suddenly, all that capital can be put to work earning yield or whatever else they need instantly. Here's what gets me though, and I really don't see people connecting these dots. This creates a domino effect across entire industries. Let me paint the picture. Say you're one of these 1,000 companies going head-to-head with rivals in your sector. You just got handed all this next-level infrastructure that lets you turbocharge how you operate and mobilize your money on the fly. Your competitors? They're watching from the sidelines. They'll have no choice but to jump in or get left in the dust. Because once you're running with the latest gear, stablecoins, tokenization, squeezing yield out of money that normally just collects dust in accounts around the globe, you're playing a completely different game. And the numbers aren't small. Based on how large your operation is, we could be looking at millions, tens of millions, potentially even billions in additional revenue annually. The way I see it, this is going to push more and more companies into adopting this stuff, and frankly, that works out pretty well for us. So it mentions hidden road. Now, prime brokerage, rail payments, platform, grabbing 10% of the business-to-business stablecoin payment flow worldwide. And remember, the stablecoin market isn't staying where it is. We're talking about growth into the trillions. Where are we today? Around 308 billion, depending on how you count it. Stack up the big stablecoin names, throw in Palisade, institutional grade custody, Medico, tokenized asset infrastructure. Take a step back and look at what's already built here. There are maybe 2 or 3 gaps left to fill, guys. Every one of these is being wired into the XRP ledger. This isn't narrative, it's execution at the highest level of finance. Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse didn't mince words either. I remind you all that XRP sits at the center of everything Ripple does lock in. Let's talk supply. XRP critics still throw around this tired line. It has too much supply, already high market cap, no upside. That take is about to age very badly because they don't understand what's coming. Daily volume into the trillions in the XRP ledger, stablecoins, tokenized bonds, FX credit, institutional players locking in or locking up supply, XRP being burned in every transaction, long-term holdings by corporates and treasuries, supply shock when value flows through a single bridge asset at scale. That also doesn't just add up, it reprices entirely to reflect the role it now plays. So the real question is, can XRP go to $5, $10, or $20? It's how do you even value an asset that sits at the center of a multi-trillion-dollar financial network? Are you starting to understand what's really happening? This post really caught my attention. Let me pull up this clip that shows exactly what he's getting at. Listen to this.
I'm not going to be the hard-charging interviewer. Yeah, I've been on the receiving end too many times.
Yeah, right. I would just say the future is very bright for this industry, and there are companies that are going to sprout up here in the space that probably aren't even in existence yet. And there's going to be just amazing efficiencies unlocked. It's going to integrate into the existing financial system. Stable coins are going to proliferate around the globe. So I think you're going to be talking about market cap into the tens of trillions, even beyond what it is right now at 4 or 5 trillion. So there's going to be growth. There's going to be a lot of innovation in the space, and there's going to be a lot of players that come into existence that aren't even concepts right now. Yeah.
You know what's going to be fascinating? Watching them actually execute on this and figuring out which systems the US government decides to roll with. Because let's be real, if they go down the road of building something entirely in-house, we're looking at a timeline that stretches out for years and years. But here's where it gets spicy. Trump's hunting for a victory and the clock's ticking. The fastest path to claiming that win? Simple. Lock arms with an American company, which naturally gets your brain spinning about what the endgame might look like here, doesn't it? Okay, so Monica Long dropped this summary, and there are some juicy bits I need to call out. She's recapping a whirlwind of announcements at Swell. By now, you've definitely heard about that eye-popping $500 million cash injection from Fortress, Citadel, Pantera, and Galaxy that pushed Ripple's valuation up to $40 billion. We also learned that Mastercard, WebBank, and Gemini are jumping in to use RLUSD on the XRP ledger. Here's the wild part. Mastercard shuffles around $9.757 trillion in payments every year. We're talking about 180 billion separate transactions going through their network annually. So naturally, your mind starts racing. What if there's actually a master plan unfolding here? Could RLUSD and Ripple become the engine that helps Mastercard push even more of those trillions around, not just what's happening with Gemini? And I've got this nagging question about debt too. Debt markets are floating around 300 trillion right now. Here's where things get weird. When you're charging stuff on your credit card, you're technically playing with debt that lives completely outside the traditional money supply ecosystem. So here's the brain teaser. As these card transactions zip through networks and value bounces around, could all that action actually happen on blockchain rails? What if crypto becomes the superhighway for instant payment settlements? That's the trajectory I'm seeing. My money says there are partnerships and bombshells being assembled backstage that nobody's caught wind of yet. Trust me, the pipeline isn't empty. Palisade pops up in her recap, though honestly, we've already torn through that topic multiple times. Plus LUSD smashing through the 1 billion barrier. Wave after wave of legitimately killer updates keep dropping. Ripple threw their spotlight on this too. Listen, I'm not camping here all day, but certain puzzle pieces caught my eye that you need to see. And Ripple's basically dominating the landscape now. The undisputed heavyweight blockchain infrastructure provider. Hang on and take a listen.
So Ripple aspires, and I think we are clearly in the lead, to be the blockchain infrastructure company, period. For the enterprise, for financial institutions. We started with payments, cross-border payments particularly, and that's still core to our strategy. Driving the velocity, driving the liquidity, driving the utility of XRP. We moved into custody, and that was an acquisition we made 2.5 years ago, a company based in Switzerland. that really it continues to be the leading custody infrastructure for tier 1 banks, HSBC, BBVA, SocGen. We will continue to invest in that. And the announcement yesterday of a company called Palisade gives us more capabilities in that space to go beyond just kind of that tier 1 bank customer set. But we truly believe in, one of the assets that I'm most excited about, we just announced G Treasury. Renat, the CEO, I believe is here. He an outstanding entrepreneur. These guys are the dashboard for the CFOs of over 1,000 companies, and they see trillions of dollars of payments. They're that orchestration layer enabling that. They see hundreds of billions of dollars of deposits that are dormant and could be perhaps more useful if in a tokenized form like, let's say RLUSD. So, we have, I think, unlike other crypto companies, leaned into buying what I would call traditional finance assets. Mm-hmm. Hidden Road, the vast majority of their business is not digital. Certainly G Treasury, that's true. And we think that is bringing the bridge between traditional finance and kind of, we call it decentralized finance. So we're very excited about how those pieces fit together.
So check it out. Brad Garlinghouse just confirmed everything I was breaking down for you earlier. Ripple's efficiency play with G Treasury, that's going to catapult these companies straight to the front of the pack. They'll be able to deploy their money like absolute pros. I don't think enough people realize just how massive this shift is going to be. You know what? I'm going to stop right there before I go on another rant. But wait, there's more. Did you catch that $500 million move? $95 billion in total Ripple payments volume, $1 billion RLUSD, 6 strategic acquisitions completed in 2 years, 25% of shares repurchased, 3x growth in Ripple Prime business. Here's what blows my mind though. Hidden Road came under their wing in May, and the growth has already exploded by 3 times. 6 months, people, half a year, and they managed to triple it. Now put 2 and 2 together. What's your prediction for G Treasury? I mean, come on, the writing's on the wall. We're standing right at the finish line. Before I go, I've got to recognize all the rock stars working in the trenches making this reality happen. The unsung heroes, the entire crew at Ripple, and everyone in the community putting in the hours. These are the people who deserve some serious recognition, so I wanted to end on that note. Wishing you all an incredible week. See you in the next video.